The closing government would like to give a speech within 1, 2, 3. Opening debate lacks the analysis on where the money can be used to enable further corruption. Opening government only told us that the money will enable the corruptor to corrupt again. But they have failed to explain how does that money can be used for future campaign or funding other politicians to do the same corruptions. So why the status quo punishment is not enough? When corruptors only put behind the bars and only forced to pay the compensation, that is problematic because of two things. The first one, corruptors can still run their businesses. This looks like Indonesian corruptors that are still running their restaurant and running their mining companies. Secondly, there are times when corruptors have to face different court proceeding. If the corruptors still have money, they can hire for better lawyer to defend themselves, or they can even bribe their witnesses. And these two things will result into less punishment for the corruptors. So our stance in closing government is simple. We will prove to you that when we impoverish corruptors, they are guaranteed not to repeat their violence. There are independent rebuttals before I move on to my arguments. The first one, they say that the family of the corruptors will suffer because the money are taken away. First respond, we say no, because the state will provide protections, food coupons, shelters, or basic healthcare or BPJS. So the family can still live their lives. The second one, the family of the corruptors oftentimes have been living in luxurious lives, and their children already got the best educations, like in Harvard, Oxford, or Ivy League schools. So in conclusion, when the corruption happens, the family already have basic skills to survive. Now, moving on to my second rebuttal. They say that impoverishing corruptor will add burden to the state. The first response, we say no, because the corruptors will still be punished on your side of the house. The corruptors are still present and the state have the budgets to provide these corruptors. The second one, we bite the bullet that even if it adds more burdens, that's okay. I will explain in my argument. Now, welcome to my first argument. Why it is morally justified to impoverish corruptors. Ideally, we punish people equally to the damage that they did. Now let's take a look at how corruption ruined the life of thousands and even millions of people. The first one, the amount of money that these corruptors stole from the people is massive. And this looks like millions of people are forced to starve because the food coupon is corrupted. Moreover, thousands of medical patients are dying because they are not given proper medications because the money is being corrupted. Now let's take a look in the United States, where millions of elderly that are suffering from diabetes die each day because they cannot get the proper treatment. And this is because the insulin price is sky high due to the corruption in insulin industry. So in conclusion, when politicians do corruptions, they are effectively killing human beings that are in dire need of help. Secondly, politicians have high salaries to begin with. Now let's take a look in Indonesia, where politicians receive so much bonuses, such as car loans, bonuses for their children's education, and bonuses for their insurance. And these bonuses are taken from taxpayer money. However, they still decide to corrupt just to satisfy their greed. So in this argument, I have proven to you why impoverishment is an equal punishment for corruptors. Now, moving on to my second argument, why impoverishing corruptors will prohibit them to do the future corruptions. Notice that the opening government didn't explain how corruptors use their money. The first point, corruptors oftentimes have business. They have mining businesses or restaurants, or they even have invested their money to the other companies. So why is it harmful if we don't impoverish them? There are three reasons for that. The first one, corruptors can still be politicians in the future. And how do they do that? They will have the power to do campaign and re-advertise themselves as good people. This looks like paying money for other party members to help them to gain that image. And secondly, they can hand wash their previous sins by giving money to poor people. So they have the power to attract the media to spotlight their donation to poor people as if their corruption has been forgiven. The third one, the money is transferred to the other party members to do another corruptions. A lot of times, corruptions are done communally. Corruptors pay their employees to cover up the corruptions. So it means team opposition have the likelihood to see the corruption done by the other party members. So what are the benefits in our side of the house? The first one, you put closure into the mind of the victims because now the victims can see the person that has corrupted medical treatment is suffering in poverty. The second one, we prevent the corruptors to be re-elected in the future or helping other party members to do the corruptions. So at the end of my speech, I would like to re-emphasize my two arguments that I have delivered. The first one, I have talked about why impoverishment is an equal punishment for corruptors. Secondly, why impoverishing corruptors will prohibit them to do the future corruptions. So the points that I delivered to you were not elaborated enough in the opening debate. So we believe that closing government should be appreciated higher than team government and also opposition. Thank you.
So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. From the Prime Minister's side, corruptors that stole a huge sum of money for themselves, and they have some few questions about it, like the justifications, how big the punishment to the corruptors, and how will the impoverishment impoverish them. And they say that it's not only it impoverished them, but rehabilitate them, realizing the lost cause that they done. And the rehabilitation is a way of punishment for the corrupt. I will start my speech again in 3, 2, 1. Corruptors that stole a huge sum of money for themselves, and they have some few questions about it, like the justifications, how big the punishment to the corruptors, how will they impoverish them. And they say that it's not only it impoverished them, but rehabilitate them, realizing the lost cause that they done. And the rehabilitation is a way of punishment for the corruptor's motivation also comes into play when a corruptor is inspiring other people to do it. And because of this, the corruptors can get away with it, as they say, a slap in the wrist. For the leader of opposition, they said that impoverishment means that the corruptors that the Prime Minister mentioned is living in the poverty line. So the rebuttals of the leader of opposition is that even though murder has a death sentence, people still do it as an example. And the leader of opposition stated that the outcomes for the corruptors are far worse, and that the CGS isn't just for the sake of retribution, but to protect the public. So the goal of the CGS is not to absolutely destroy the life of people. It is a principle misaligned to the goal of CGS, and that the goal is to reintegrate, encouraging, and the side remove virtually any chances of you becoming a functioning member of the society. So when the opening opposition said that there will be unfair treatment for the basic resources, actually the punishment isn't equal. This might not be true because they have been given like the fundamentals necessities to begin with. For example, many of their children are already been educated in a prestigious universities, BINUS, UPH, and so on. So therefore, even if the corruptors are punished, the children will feel the severity because they still have fancy lifestyle. And for the deputy prime minister said that it is best to take away the money that they incentivize the corruptors and use it as a way of reputation. Said that it is worse because it is impoverish them, and we take away a large sum of money back from the side of the family. Say a father addicted to gamble, as deputy leader of opposition said, it will take an effect to the family, and taking his wealth can be a realization. And will rehabilitation work? They think that they never established the context of reparation. So from the deputy leader of opposition said that Reparation panels is when you save the root of why these corruptors want to be corrupt the state, and not putting more capital to actual cater. More impoverished people inside the state, and they think that they ignored the financial agency that takes care of the analysis of the research of the laws that still have human errors. Impoverished means more burden to the state because they have to take care of more impoverished people under their state. So at the end of the day, therefore, I couldn't agree more with the arguments of closing government, that the closing government have clarified clearly and exemplified with obvious evidence. Thank you.